Hey, I'm Mark Lutz, and you're watching Big M Productions. Why Buffy is awesome. And in French, that's Pourquoi Buffy c'est génial. Oui, je parle français. Oh, très bien.
Eh bien bonjour, c'est Big M et nous sommes à la convention Whispers from the Hellmouth de Geek'n Cheese avec l'équipe de Pourquoi Buffy c'est génial, mais pas seulement, puisque nous recevons aujourd'hui un incroyable comédien de la série, Angel. Il nous vient tout droit des terres de Pylea, il était le prince charmant de Cordelia, le conquérant de Droken, c'est le Groosalugg lui-même, Mark Lutz. Hello, Mark,
Hello.
and welcome on Why Buffy is Awesome.
I'm very happy to be here. I understood all that.
You did?
I did, surprisingly.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you for that intro.
Thank you for being here and accepting this interview.
Well, thank you for doing the interview.
Thanks.
And being here today. And thank you for recording this. And thank you guys also for being here.
Thank you,
for
everybody.
having this other camera set up. And thank you for bringing some water. And thank you for interrupting. I really love it. It's all fantastic so far. It's going so smoothly.
I love it. You're awesome, Mark. Mark,
Yeah.
First of all, how did you get the part of the Groosalugg, and what were your first impressions of the character?
I had just moved to Los Angeles from Toronto, Canada, where I was working up there, and then I got my green card, so I headed down, and I was very lucky that I got an audition for Angel. I didn't know really anything about the show. I knew I knew they were popular shows, but I had never watched the shows. So when I got the script for what I had to audition for, it was all the Pylea stuff where I'm talking about cows, and I had no idea what I was doing. But I remember playing I had 3 auditions, and I went in the first time, and it was the scene I auditioned with was when he first meets the princess, and he says, you know, everything is kind of the opposite. Like, oh, he has teeth and a smile and big muscles, and I forget something else. There was a third thing. And because I didn't know what I was prepared for the audition, but I didn't really understand what I was saying. Do you know what I mean? And because I was playing it kind of confused, but also I think I was playing the opposite, you know, they loved it. And so they said, can you come back in an hour? And I said, no, I'm very busy. I have a cake in the oven at home. But I said, of course, I guess I'll come for the second. And so I came like an hour later, and I auditioned for David Greenwald and Tim Minear. And then they said, that was great. Can you stay around for another hour and meet Joss? And I said, forget it. I don't have time for this. No, of course, I'm going to wait to meet Joss, of course, duh. And so I did it for them. And in the meantime, there was a few other actors that were still left, you know, maybe 3 or 4 other people that they had narrowed down. And I knew I was doing my shtick, you know, with my arm and the smile and everything. And then the casting director came out, and she said to the audience, the other actors, like, hey, maybe try this. She was telling the other actors what I was doing in my audition. I'm like, hey, don't do that, right? Like, so I was, you know, very lucky, and got the job, and showed up on set. The first day was when I met, first of all, actually, some people might not know this, but they did makeup tests, and I think at first, do you know this? You said you're an Angel fan, right?
Yes.
So first he was gold, I think, and silver, and so they did a makeup test, so I had to come in before we shot, and the silver makeup was like the Silver Surfer kind of thing, but it would come off very quickly, like rub off on everything. And then the gold looked just ridiculous. And I had forgotten this. I haven't talked about this in a while. But then my first day coming in to shoot, I was actually blue, like the color blue.
That's what I wrote here.
Right.
Metallic skin.
Yeah, blue, kind of metallic.
Metallic skin, right.
And Tim Minear was directing that episode, and I was sitting in my chair watching them shoot, and I was getting ready to go, and he was, you know, behind he was ahead of me. in the director's chair and watching the Video Village, you know, and he kept doing this, sort of turning around and looking at me like, and I thought, oh my gosh, am I getting fired? Like, what's going on? He kept kind of giving me a dirty look. Not a dirty look, but just I knew something was going on. And eventually he just came up to me and he said, just go home. And I went, excuse me? He's like, just go home. We're not doing this. And I didn't understand. He said, I can't. This is terrible. We're going to bring you back. No makeup. And thank God that they did that.
They scrapped it.
They scrapped it just wasn't working, right? Visually, it didn't look good, right? And so I was grateful because it takes like 3 hours to put it on. Like Andy, you know, had his 3 hours of makeup, right? So I was very happy about that. Plus, it's your face. So, of course, you'd rather do that, I think, you know. And then my first day was with Charisma. And we did the throne room scene. And there was no one really else. None of the other actors were working that day. So she was the first person I met. And it was great. We, you know, got along really well. And here I am 20 years later talking to you in Paris. So it's pretty crazy.
I was wondering if they scrapped it because of the visual, the metallic skin, or because you might have felt uncomfortable with the makeup or something.
I think they just didn't like the look of it. Yeah. And I think they also wanted to have it be a love interest. So, you know, for Cordelia, to look human as opposed to, and lucky for me, because I think that contributed to me coming back, right? I think maybe if I was blue, maybe I would, you know, walk around the streets of LA.
The Groosalugg is a unique character.
Yep.
With a fascinating history and culture. How did you approach developing this character, and which aspects did you find most interesting to explore?
Well, again, I would refer back to my original audition is that, like, even though I didn't understand some of the words I was saying, I understood the intent that he has it all back, like what we consider good in our culture, you know, maybe being tall, being muscular, having a good smile was all bad things there. So he was shameful of these things, kind of. So that was a lot of fun to play up that aspect of it. And I think that's actually what, you know, won me the role, is that understanding of the, you know, the backwards nature of that. And also a bit of fish out of water. He was a fish out of water when he came to LA, especially, but he was also kind of a fish out of water in Pylea, right? He was this champion that his heart really wasn't in it. And, you know, he won all the time, but he kind of had a defeatist kind of, you know, aside from what he did well, he, you know, his place in society, right? Like a class system, I suppose, put him in the bottom kind of thing.
But that's actually a kind of a recurring theme on the show, that Los Angeles is the place to be for all the outsiders, you know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
How would you describe the relationship between the Groosalugg and Cordelia Chase, and how did you approach the dynamics between your characters?
Well, I was brought in to be, you know, the classic love triangle where, you know, there's someone in between. So I knew my role was to sort of screw, because they were getting together, I think, right when they brought me back the second time. You know, to play in a love triangle, plus be a fish out of water, and this mythical character that has all these great attributes was just, I mean, a dream come true, really. And like I said earlier, I guess you didn't see that part because you weren't here earlier, but you know, I didn't know it would be. I thought it was going to be another job, right? Like you, as an actor, a lot of times you go from one show to another show and you kind of forget about it, and not forget about it, but you know, it has its moment and then it's done. But Angel, again, 20 years later, we're still talking about it. And now with all the streaming and everything, a whole new audiences, and I'm finding you come to some of these conventions and very young people will be here, right? So they weren't even alive when the show was on, right? But they're finding it on streaming. And
Angel, the show Angel, often tackles dark, complex themes. How do you think the Groosalugg contributes to the series' narrative arc, and its exploration of the duality between good and evil.
Oh, wow.
That's a tough question.
Tough question. Again, I would probably go back to that, you know, because he was a fish out of water, he provided a perspective that, you know, called attention to what was going on in Los Angeles and just sort of the nature of our society, why we do the things we do, or why who has told us that this is the way it is and it shouldn't be this way. And by coming in and being a fish out of water, you can sort of, you know, show a different perspective from what might be considered stereotypical, I guess. He's a reformed vampire, really, right? Like, he doesn't kill people anymore, right? So he's gone through his own redemptive arc, and I think that these colors, you know, Groosalugg brings a color to the exploration of the good and evil because he is so earnest, you know. That might actually be why it didn't ultimately, you know, work out between the irony. He could be everything you would want in a boyfriend, right? Very loyal, you know, a champion in his own right, and yet doesn't get the girl at the end of the day, you know? Yeah, that would be my answer. If that makes any sense.
You told us about this just earlier. After the season 2 finale of Angel, your character returned for the second half of the third season. Then he disappears.
Yeah.
Actually, the Groosalugg returns in the Angel comics and the Spike spin-off to fight alongside Spike.
Right. Yes.
Would you have liked for Gru to return on the show, let's say, for the series finale?
There was talk about it.
Okay.
I know that I spoke to some of the writers after the fact, and they said that in the writers' room they were, you know, they throw around ideas, what they want to do, which way they want to go, and I think part of they were talking about bringing me back anyway, but then it was kind of I think a surprise to a lot of people that it got canceled when it got canceled, right?
Yeah.
So. I think they just, as they say in the business, went another direction, right? They talked about bringing me back and had spoken to my agent saying, oh, is he available for that time period? And of course, I would love to come back, but just didn't happen for whatever reason. But I have read some of the comics, and not all of them, but a few of them, you know, that I've seen at conventions. People show them to me, and I saw Groosalugg riding a winged horse, which I thought was pretty good. I would like to do that. That would be great. Yeah. So
There was also a dragon called Cordelia.
right, a dragon. Yes. Again,
Yeah,
it'd be great. Yeah.
yeah.
So if you guys can make that happen, that'd be great.
In addition to Angel, you've appeared in a number of other shows, notably as Mona's date in an episode of Friends.
Yeah.
You were the guy who got Ross a salmon-colored shirt.
That is correct.
Do you have any fun facts?
Well, it's funny because I was doing Angel at that time, and I wasn't contracted to be in for 2 weeks. So the Groosalugg wasn't in those episodes, and so the first week, and I was very lucky. I hadn't been in LA very long, and the first week I did a guest spot on ER, and I was on that show, and the casting directors from that show liked me so much. There was a last-minute cancellation for that role, and they called me at like 7 o'clock in the morning. My agent said, "Are you up? Can you go to, you know, Warner Brothers studio right now and to audition for Friends?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so booted over there, auditioned right for the producers. There was only 3 people. 3 people auditioning and 3 people in the room, the Bright, Kaufman, Crane, the, you know, producers of Friends. And yeah, by 10 o'clock I was on set shooting Friends. It was just like you wake up in the morning and then 2 hours later you're on the set of Friends. I was like, what is going on? It was just a fantastic day. Yeah, and I had a great time, obviously, on that. That week was the same week they were negotiating their $1 million salary, which I did not get, by the way. I did not get paid $1 million for that episode, sadly. But yeah, that was also a great experience because Alec Baldwin was there that day, and Brad Pitt was there. He was dating one of the girls from the show. I can't remember her name.
Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Jennifer Aniston. I'm joking. course. You got to help with me here with these. Yeah, no, I had a great experience on that. So, and then when I came back to Angel, and I was, friends with people on the cast, like the late great Andy Hallett, and he's like, "So, what did you do on your vacation for 2 weeks?" And I'm like, "Oh, I did ER the first week, and then I did Friends." And what the, So, it was a good time.
Well, Mark, thank you
Very much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.
C'était l'interview de Mark Lutz pour Big M Productions et Pourquoi Buffy c'est génial. Et moi, comme d'habitude, je vous dis ciao et bis nächs'ch Mal.
Bis nächs'ch Mal.
Bis nächs'ch Mal.
Was the camera rolling? Okay, let's do the real take now. Maybe get it both on. Is this going on a dating site?
Si t'es gentil, abonne-toi.